The wonderful Mina joins us to talk about her Mariners coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Thursday, May 29th, 2025. This is Ty and Colby for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. So we've talked about this before. Colby and I have had a list of guests we've most wanted to interview since we started doing this, years back. We've been incredibly fortunate enough to check off quite a few names off that list, from, Jerry DiPoto to Aaron Goldsmith. Well, today we got to check off yet another huge name from that list. Here's our chat with ESPN's Mina. Incredibly excited to welcome NFL analyst for ESPN, host of the Mina Show, featuring Lenny, of course. Cannot forget Lenny. Seahawks fan, Mariners fan. She just wrapped up her Around the Horn career, tied for the 5th highest winning percentage in the show's history. She's an absolute ball knower. Her name is Mina, and she joins us now on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Mina, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me. We all got to do final FaceTimes on Around the Horn, which, most people used to say like very emotional, loving things. I think right before I went, one of my friends, Harry Lyles, like teared up giving his. And then I immediately went after him with a "Go M's! Mariners are winning the World Series." So not really totally appropriate, but yeah, definitely it's been fun to do that show, and I'm going to miss it a lot.
So before we hit record, I asked you, we were chatting a little bit, and I asked you, are you familiar with the show? And you said, yeah, I am actually. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you have, or that you had tweeted something or skeeted. What have we posted? Sure. Yeah. We'll go with posted on Blue Sky. And we decided to hold off on what that was until we started recording. So please do share.
Yes, I have listened to the show. And I actually didn't know what either of you guys look like. So now I know. And I did a post that I actually posted right after I listened to this podcast. And I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
It's on Blue Sky. The ideal 2-person podcast has one fairly upbeat normie, usually the host, and one grump who loves to complain. Unbeatable formula.
Yeah,
and a million people reposted and they were like, "This is like my show." No, it's not your show. It was specifically, I would posted it right after listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Unbeatable formula.
That's called you a grump, Ty. Take that.
That's right. Yeah, you're the upbeat normie.
That's right. Totally.
Just saying, you can't have too much positivity. You can't have too much negativity. You need the yin. Right. You need the yang. Right. It's every great show.
That's right. You hear that comment section? Mina said so.
You know why you need a grumpy dude? Sorry, let me just get in. Because I've listened to many episodes of this show. When something, it's like Simon Cowell on the original American Idol or the X Factor or whatever. When something good happens and they're happy, it means so much more. If a guy who's like a little bit like curmudgeonly is like, you know what, that was great, Cal Raleigh's awesome or whatever, you're like, yeah, because it takes a lot to impress that person. So
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
You're welcome. Comment section. There you go.
There you go.
I'm on
Colby Pat note officially Mina approved.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned your success on Around the Horn. Obviously, like you said, it aired its last episode a few days ago. That show personally meant a lot to me. I watched it since I was a kid. I don't know if it necessarily inspired me to get into this field, but it definitely opened up my interest in it because, it made sports talk incredibly fun. It turned it into a game. And it also meant, coming correct with your talking points, or else, you're going to get muted. You're going to lose. So you better do your research and know what the hell you're talking about. I just absolutely loved it. And I was gutted when I heard it was no longer going to air. So I'd love to just hear you quickly talk about your experience on that show and what it meant to you before we get into the Mariners.
Yeah. So one of the few shows on ESPN that regularly talk baseball, by the way. relative to this show. Around the Horn, like a lot of folks, I was a sports writer first, and it was sort of my launching pad to being on television. Now I don't write anymore at all. But I'm a full-time analyst on NFL Live, which is our football show. But a lot of writers like myself got their shot on Around the Horn, and also like taught me how to do television, talking about a wide variety of sports in a very small amount of time, reacting to other people. So it was really, really instrumental in my career. And it was fun to go back and revisit. I've been doing it for 8 years, hundreds of shows at this point. It's funny, I posted probably the clip of mine that I feel like most people associate me with most of Around the Horn didn't even happen on the actual show, which was our producer broke the news that Shohei Ohtani signed with the Angels and not the Mariners to me in between a commercial break. And I was so distraught, which in retrospect, like, I don't know how you guys felt when that happened. I don't know what part of me even believed it would happen. I'm just like, you fool, you sweet summer child, Mary, like this horrible ownership. Come on.
Yeah.
But I literally somehow convinced myself it was going to happen. And you can see me go through like the 12 stages of grief, like in real time, holding up the show as I processed that and like lost my aged well, by the way, rare old take that actually aged well. But yeah, it's a show. And the guys are great. I mean, the OGs are awesome. I became friends with a lot of the original cast, Jackie McMullen, Tim Kalishaw has become a really dear friend of mine, has the coolest television and movie taste of any old dude on earth. Like he loves like explosions in the sky. So anyways, Around the Horn, RIP, amazing show, will be missed a great deal by me.
Absolutely. Colby, you were curious about Mina's dream Around the Horn lineup, right?
Ooh. Yeah, just like who are the four? Because like for me, I come home from school every day and I wanted to see Woody Page. I wanted to see what he wrote on the chalkboard. I wanted to see Jay Adonde and Kalishaw and just argue, and Blackistone argue about the Mavs or whatever was going on. I was just wondering, like, if you could put together your like dream team, essentially, of Around the Horn cast, who would be your four?
It's a great question. Definitely Kalishaw. I would say Jackie McMullen, who's just like the GOAT, honestly. And I was so intimidated by her when we first started doing it. Frank Isola, because he is like will often take like the opposite side. So you can have like a good disagreement. He's I wouldn't say he's anti-analytics, but him and I like do not see eye to eye in a lot of things, which makes fun for television, makes for fun television. And then I'll throw in Bomani Jones, who's a friend of mine.
Oh, Bomani's the best. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Love that. That's a great call. So again, you mentioned what you said during your last FaceTime on Around the Horn. The Mariners are winning the World Series this year. So let's talk about this Mariners ball club. I guess firstly, just give us your general thoughts on the club.
Glad we're recording after Dub.
Yeah,
feel like
not after the Astros series.
Yeah, I know, it's so foul. Yeah, I feel good. I think I still have a lot of skepticism about the offense. That's obviously been a little bit substantiated over the last few weeks, but I keep telling myself, that'll be matched by the regression to the mean on pitching when those guys come back. I think that last year it was such obviously bullshit. Like we were just not a good team, even when we had the divisional lead and whatnot. And
Colby and I did an episode like right before they blew the 10-game lead in the division, where we're like, this is awesome, but how are they doing this? I know. Totally.
In my sport, it's like no one gets angrier at me than a fan base of a team that is not as good as their record. Like the Vikings a few years ago, where they're unsustainably winning the one-score games. And if you look at all the real metrics, they show you that. And I think someone who's sort of numbers driven like me, I was very skeptical of the team last year. I think this year there's enough to counter some of that skepticism and things that I think will be better. And then there's actually there's reasons to be optimistic that feel real, right? Like what we're seeing out of Julio this year, for example. So, and then, Cal being, the best athlete in the face of the earth. And,
that's right.
Yeah, right. Good Lord. So anyways, I feel good. I don't think they're this juggernaut. I'm not that, much of a homer, but I do think that they are a good team, and I also think they should win the division.
More from our conversation with Mina Kimes in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk or on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. How would you describe your Mariners fandom? Because like the Mariners are the Mariners, right? So are you cautiously optimistic, more pessimistic, like prove it to me and then I'll believe type of thing, or what?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think I was really a hater this offseason, and I think I'm still having trouble overriding
Rightfully
some
so.
of that.
Yeah.
And then there's is there a little part of you that's like hates to see them rewarded?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, I love this, but like I hate that. Like,
I hate that it gives John Stanton all the more reason to not spend money. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty moderate. I really try not to be a homer with my teams, not in how I feel, but how I analyze them. And I think I'm pretty realistic about the Mariners without being a Debbie Downer. I really don't think I am.
You mentioned him just a second ago. I mean, what do we have to do in order to get Cal Raleigh some more national attention? I mean, the guy's clearly the best player at one of the most premium positions of the sport. He's the second most valuable player in the game by F4 right now. I mean, he's on pace for one of the greatest catcher seasons ever. We just talked about that on the show that we just recorded today. What more does this guy have to do in order to get some love outside of Seattle?
You know what? I was just looking up the home run that ended the drought, pardon me, and it only has 200,000 views on YouTube, which I was like, where Mariners fans, where are we at? Maybe they're watching it on TikTok and I don't know. But yeah, I don't follow him super. I haven't watched any interviews. Like, what is his person? Do you feel like he could use more national? Does he have a personality that maybe could use a little bit more time?
I mean, he's got a little bit of a personality. I mean, he's more about his business, but like,
culture of baseball kind of tamps that down a little bit, so it's hard. But there's definitely more personality there. But he's much more of the mode of like, I handle my business, and he's really tight with the city of Seattle. Like he'll show his personality there. But I mean, he could probably show a little bit more, but I don't know if that's really his personality type.
Yeah, but I mean, like you see him interacting with but you see him like interacting with like Logan Gilbert, and like they have a lot of, I mean, those guys have known each other for forever now, and they've been roommates and teammates for forever now. So so you kind of see it there with like his like friendships and all that. You kind of see it come out a bit more. He was on Mookie Betts' podcast last year when they played against each other, and he was like pretty good on that. Like,
okay,
he was like,
well, you guys have motivated me. I'm gonna make it my mission. I'll put a little sign on my TV backdrop. Cal Raleigh MVP campaign starts here at minimum.
We need to show Big Dumper some more love.
I mean, the best nickname in professional sports right now, right? There's so few nicknames where you hear it and you're like, huh? And then he walks out and you're like, oh. Like you see it immediately.
So I live in Toronto, so I only get to see the Mariners like 3 times a year. And so my wife came with me to the final game last month, and we're sitting behind home plate and we're watching him, taking swings in the on deck circle. And we're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Like I watch the guy every day, this is my job. Like I have to watch all the games, and even me like seeing him in person, I'm just like, wow.
Do you think he knows what a BBL is? Should I ask him if I get the opportunity?
You should absolutely ask him what a BBL is.
Okay. I might have the opportunity, by the way.
Yeah. Do it. Yes. Do it. Yes. If you have the opportunity, ask him what a BBL is.
good.
If you don't get that opportunity, Aaron Goldsmith, Ryan Roland-Smith, anyone who might be watching the show, ask him, please.
I'm on it.
Colby, you got anything for Mina?
Yeah, Ty and I were having a conversation at the end of the show that we recorded earlier today. The Seahawks have dominated this town for the last decade plus, rightfully so, when you look at the success they've had. But as they've kind of taken a step back a little bit, there are a lot of new faces this year. Ty and I were talking about like who is like the biggest sports star in the city of Seattle right now. We were thinking, are the top 3 all Mariners?
Ooh,
like is that
fun.
Cal Raleigh, Julio?
Yeah.
Is it JSN? Is it Logan? Is it? I mean,
I was talking to someone who whatever I'll just say, the Devin Witherspoon's agent, and I was like, Devin Witherspoon might be the most common Seahawks jersey in like 2 years because there really are so few faces of the team at this point. And you're right, like maybe JSN, but it's really been quite the turning of the page with the Seahawks. And yeah, it might be, I would say Julio and Cal are probably in the top 3, which is because there's no basketball team, which is wild. I don't know how popular hockey is there. You guys can tell me. I don't pretend like
it's well, they don't really have like a star player right now.
Yeah. I went to the All-Star game, what was it, 2 years ago? I was
in Seattle,
7 months pregnant at the time and hiding it, not to people who were at the game. It was very obvious. And I was there too. Kenny Mayne and I were hosting the celebrity softball game. By the way, I got up to the final thing. I remember this vividly because my just very Seattle story. And I fell down because my feet both cramped up and I couldn't move. And Bobby Wagner ran over and was like, "Get this pregnant woman a Gatorade." How did you know, Bobby Wagner? He's like got a sixth sense. Good guy, Bobby Wagner. But anyways,
right.
we love B-Wags.
That's honestly truly one of the best students. But this is a ball. I also, I don't know why I'm like telling name droppy stories, but Jeff Patson introduced me to Felix, who was hanging out, and I froze up like a total loser, like full on. Like the only other person I've ever frozen up around is Marshawn Lynch, who I just was like
understandable. Yeah.
And also Marshawn doesn't like meeting people, so he's not like
also understandable. Yeah.
It's fine. But Felix, I was like, "Oh, you just mean so much to me," and he was like, "Cool." Right. But anyways, sorry, this is such a roundabout way of answering your question. That was the home run derby where Julio hit like 40. I mean, it was freaking, he didn't win, but he had, and I swear to God, in that moment, were you guys there in the stadium?
No.
Being in that stadium and just in the city of Seattle, I was like, Julio could run for mayor like right now in a snap election and win. Like I've never. The amount of like charisma and just buy-in from the city, just watching him just smash, like it was just, honestly, it gave me it reminded me of like watching the Legion of Boom in like 2013 in Seattle. It was just that kind of moment. So
there's a great picture from that afternoon. I think it was when he like took his time out during the derby.
Oh,
I'll try and find it, and if I do, I'll put it up on the screen. Just the whole crowd standing, So
just like, by the way, after that, after the home run derby, I was hanging at our hotel, and I was like, "Is that Marshawn Lynch just standing outside of our hotel?" And I looked, and it was, and you could just, and so I was watching the window, people driving by, and literally everyone had me like, "Is that Marshawn Lynch?" And he was just standing outside, like ripping a cig or something, and like everyone was, "Wait, what?" Like, yeah, he's the best.
Love it.
Seattle's been so blessed. So many great.
For real.
Yeah.
For real. Something Colby and I also talk fairly often about are the similarities between the current iterations of the Mariners and the Seahawks. And obviously there are only so many parallels you can make because football and baseball are such different sports, and roster building in both sports is wildly different. But, both teams have long tenured front offices. Both have gone through a recent major coaching change. Both for the last few years have been fringe playoff contenders. If you had to pick one of them to be the likeliest to kind of break through that and win a championship in the next, say, 3 to 5 years, who are you taking?
I'm taking the Mariners. Crazy.
Yeah.
right?
We are too. We are too.
We are too. I think about saying that like even 4 or 5 years ago, people would have ripped you to shreds,
Yeah.
and it just
I mean,
seems
the
obvious to me.
rotation, the farm system, like
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
can you like it's the future's so bright.
Now I have to preface this by saying, like, I'm very big Geno guy. So I'm not a huge fan of the way this offseason has gone for the Seahawks. Yeah. So I'm a little more down on the Seahawks as far as this year goes and the immediate future as maybe some other people in the fan base. So that does play a role here. But
The one thing
yes.
the Seahawks have is better ownership. I mean, well, also ownership matters less in football for
Right.
obvious reasons. And yeah, I will never praise.
No. But yeah, like to Colby and I, again, we've been talking about this for a long time. We've actually even put this out on Twitter a few times, and I'm sure you can guess that like the overwhelming majority answer is the Seahawks.
Really?
But yeah. I mean, again, the Mariners are the Mariners, right?
Yeah.
The Mariners have a certain reputation that, they're not going to get rid of until they actually win for real.
So ready to be so angry at the trade deadline. You guys think we're going to do anything? Give me some. I mean, I know it's not a great market.
Yeah, that's the issue. I mean, like right now, the meta of the market is, it's a seller's market, right? Not because of the expanded playoffs and just so many teams just kind of want to straddle the fence in general. There's just not going to be that many sellers. But I mean, the Mariners are positioned as well as any team in the sport right now to go out and get whoever is available because of just how good their farm system is and how even better it's going to get here in the next couple of months. But yeah, I mean, like this year though, there's, Kyle Tucker's not going to get traded by the Cubs. They're not going to trade him. Vlad just signed his extension with the Blue Jays, so he's not going to be available. So there isn't going to be an elite player available. Yeah. So it's more like, we're looking at maybe there's another Randy Arozarena out there. Hopefully.
It's been good to see him turn things around.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do something at the deadline this year. I think they're going to put some chips in. It sounds like they wanted to in the offseason via trade, but nobody wanted prospects, and they didn't properly plan for that. So, but I do think they might overpay a little bit. They might, go out and get aggressive, especially if they're in first place. I mean, if you're in first place at the All-Star break, like that's real. It doesn't matter if you're 1 game or 8 games. It doesn't matter. You are in prime position, and they have gotten aggressive. They got pretty aggressive last year. At the deadline. And so I do think they could have another deadline like that. I do think those type of pieces, the Justin Turners and the Randy Arozarenas, similar players will be available. I actually kind of think they are going to be a little bit aggressive out there and kind of push the chips in. It's probably a matter of how much money ownership is willing to kick into the budget, depending on, how big they go. But
taking on prorated contracts and all that.
Yeah. I think they want to be aggressive though. So at least I really hope they do.
Because I really don't want to do the episode.
My background. Stanton or something. I don't know. That was terrible. Something better.
Trident. I don't know. Whatever. We'll workshop it. But yeah, I really don't want to do the episode after the trade deadline if they don't do anything.
Famous last words.
We've had to do that after 2023 when they traded Paul Sewald and then didn't do anything, and they tried to trade away Teoscar Hernandez, and then look at that, Julio is like the best player on the planet in the month of August, and all of a sudden we're in first place. Man, it would have been great if we just added someone at the deadline, but no. But anyway, don't get me riled up about the 2023 deadline. I will go on about that for days. Tell me your favorite Mariners memory.
A personal memory. I think one of the first games I went to at the Kingdom was when I was like 7 or something, very young, under 10. And this could have been so many games, right? But Edgar Martinez hit the game-winning home run. God, I wish I should have written down like what year this was. I think, I still got my Edgar bottle. He's my all-time favorite Mariner, and I think it was kind of solidified in my mind at that moment. Just like anything good that happens when you're under 10 years old, just forms who you are as a personality. Good choice, though, right? A favorite player. I was 10 for the double. So that's also pretty firm part of my prefrontal cortex, I think. from that age. Other favorites. A lot of so I'm actually not from Seattle. I grew up all over the country. My dad was from Seattle, so we always went to Seattle every summer, spend time with my grandparents, and we would always go to at least 1 or 2 Mariners games. And then wherever we were living, whether it was like in Arizona or California or whatnot, we would try to go to games when they visited. But going to the Kingdom when I was really young, some of my earliest sports memories, certainly more earlier than football and basketball ones, because that was a big part of growing up for me. And also just like, my age lined up. I don't know how old you guys are, probably a little younger than me, but like it lined up perfectly with those years. And then, for the 2001, I think I was at the end of middle school at that point, and we were just glued. I mean, that season my family watched like every game on television that we could that year. And that was obviously pretty formative too.
Colby, anything else before we let Mina go?
You don't care about my favorite memory?
Not at all. No.
I want to know. What is it?
I was actually at the Cal drought ender. Got to see that live, and I was sitting there in the stands for 3 hours, and I couldn't get my shoulders to relax. I was so bunched up, and it took till about 15 minutes after the home run and all that my shoulders finally like unlocked, and I got to see Scott Service drunk on the field. So that was that was a lot of fun. But more recent. But that one always stands out.
I would have killed to be there. That was, oh my God. Yeah. They played the for some reason, I think like when there was no live sports, ESPN kept playing like the double game on ESPN or something classic. A lot of people, I think younger, hadn't seen it in its entirety. It's really worth rewatching, and it's because we always watch the moment, but like the entire game, like Randy, I mean, it's just so tense, and like it's similar to you're like, oh my God, I feel I was in the crowd for this. I would have been like literally just so stressed the entire game, and then
absolutely
the moment.
Yeah, so it's funny you brought up the Cal home run. They were watching the video because I actually watched it again last night as well, and they have the full at bat on there on YouTube, and it's like I didn't remember it being like an 8-pitch at bat. Like you just kind of like forget those things, even though it was like only like 3 years ago. Not even. No,
I forgot that too. And it's a slider. It's right. I also forgot that like I remember he had heated up, but it was kind of funny seeing that 202 or whatever who was batting pop up on the bottom of the screen. I was like, Cal? Like, I don't know, my memory of it was, it's just, it is really, really funny to revisit. And to go back to your question at the beginning about like, how do we get Cal? I mean, he's so adorable in that moment. He looks so happy. It is so cute. He was like a giant baby played baseball, I feel like.
Yeah.
We had Brian O'Keefe who got called up for like the hangover game the next day to play. He career minor league dude got called up for this moment. So we talked about that, but he told me, so Cal pinch hit in that game for the drought ender, and he was like, I went down to the cages down in the clubhouse, and I was watching him take some hacks, and they were the worst swings I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
And then he went up there and did that.
What's gotten into him, guys? Like, what is it? Is it the hitting coach? Is it like, what do you attribute this to this season?
I mean, the big thing is like he's hitting from the right side now. Like that was kind of like the biggest weakness for him. He's actually producing from the right side. He's hitting for average, and he's hitting for power from the right side. Yeah, his splits were
so dramatic.
Very, very different. I mean, from 2021 to 2023, he only had 7 home runs from the right side. He had 13 last year from the right side, and now he already has 8. So that's been a big part of it. I think, Kevin Seitzer, Bobby Magallanes, that the hitting coaches, their philosophy that they've kind of brought in, as well as Edgar, obviously, of kind of staying up the middle. Cal's talked about this. It's helped him. It's helped him. It's funny though. We had Gary Hill Jr., Mariners radio broadcaster, on the show last week, and he was talking about how like they have that philosophy of like trying to stay up the middle more, but they're pulling the ball still as much as they were last year. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just leading to more success.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yep.
I know.
And the nice thing is he's ours for the next 6 years. They got that extension done and out of the way. And
God, what is age better than that? Holy smokes.
So what are your next couple months looking like before training camp kicks off?
I do still podcasting. My show, if you guys are listening to this and you're a football fan, the Mina show featuring Lenny is all year round. We talk about the entire league, but there's always a lot of Seahawks talk. I know I've been kind of negative on some of the Seahawks stuff, but I'm very positive about the defense. So you can tune into that. And we are doing, I'm doing a series of interviews with players over the next few weeks as well. You can check out at youtube.com/@Mina, maybe Cal Raleigh. I don't know. We'll see. You guys have to give me some questions to ask him other than the BBL one. Definitely gonna ask.
Sounds good. Well, Mina, I want to thank you for being so gracious with your time. It was such a pleasure to finally get the chance to meet you and speak with you. And I hope we can do it again sometime. Thanks so much.
Maybe around the World Series. Keep it up, guys.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for our show. Thank you again so much to Mina for joining us today. And thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty and Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Ty and Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.